good, everybody? Welcome in. I am the law dog, Larry Gibson, your favorite Q in law school. And today we're going to discuss Coach Prime's views on the NIL. Now, before we get into that, I got to address my own NIL stuff, okay, right? So, as you can see, we are no longer NIL University. We are now the Black Gavel, all things NIL, right? Why is that? Well, the name NIL University was already taken, so I had to switch out my intellectual property and become the Black Gavel. So, with no further ado, let's go ahead and get into everything Coach Prime. Now, as we all know, back in 2021, the Supreme Court made it possible for these players to profit off of their name, image, and likeness. And back then, Coach Prime was still at Jackson State. While at Jackson State, Coach Prime was elated about the opportunity for his children to take advantage of name, image, and likeness, and he had a lot of things to say. He began by saying this: "It is prime time and about time that our student athletes have an opportunity to make money off of their name, image, and likeness. I am thrilled that these athletes can now financially and personally benefit from all that they do from for their institutions and communities. This is a tremendous step in the right direction," right? Coach Prime felt that, not only was this a big step for FBS schools, but this was also a big step for for FCS schools, especially HBCUs. And as you can see what happened at Jackson State, a lot of his players were able to take advantage. Now, we all know Coach Prime, he's like your favorite uncle, man. He's a very even-handed guy. He's going to give you the good, but he's also going to tell you what to watch out for. And back in July 2001, he did just that, telling players, don't let this NIL stuff mess up your future. Get a lawyer, take marketing and advertising classes for knowledge. You will also meet Uncle Sam for the first time. None of this stuff is BS. This is how Coach Prime really felt. And I'm glad he said this because it's completely right. A lawyer can be one of your best benefactors whenever you're looking at NILs because they know what to look for. They're deep into contractual language all the time. This isn't their first rodeo, and most likely for these athletes, it is their first rodeo, even for their parents. So it's good that he told them to do that. Also, getting marketing and advertising classes for knowledge. Know what you're about to get into. These companies are about to ask you to market and advertise them. So go ahead and build your knowledge base so that whenever you get out there, you don't look like you don't know what you're doing and you don't get treated like you don't know what you're doing. So once again, solid advice. And last but not least, Uncle Sam. Man, Coach Prime is right about Uncle Sam. Whenever those big checks come in, the more you get paid, it pushes you up into a higher tax bracket. So hey, he kept it 100 on that. But let's go ahead and take a look at a video of what Coach Prime had to say whenever he was interviewed while he was still at Jackson State about NILs. Now, this might seem a little bit different than the positive views that he shared early on, but this is because he was getting compared to Nick Saban in Alabama and their NIL struggle.
First of all, we can't compete. We don't have collectives. We don't have anything like that. We're trying to rally up boosters, and you talk about collectives. So I don't even know the definition of a collective. And it's name, image, and likeness. Name, image, and likeness. I'm happy that these kids are getting compensated. But when you talk about name, image, and likeness, I haven't seen anybody on anything. We keep talking about these kids are making millions of dollars. What do they own? Where is the name, the image, and the likeness? Or is it just collectives just paying these kids to participate in this or that college? We don't have that. Again, we don't have those resources. We can't compete with that. So the little guy is pushed aside because now when it comes down to, is this guy going to choose this college or that college? We can't compete with anteing up to make sure that kid is compensated like he wants to be compensated. And I want these kids to start back focusing on the NFL and not the NIL. Now you have kids not even thinking about the wonderful job that Coach Saban has done in the track record that he's accumulated, but or the position coach, or does this scheme fit him? They're thinking about NIL. So if the money fits, I go there. And that's not the way to attack this thing, because the NFL is what's going to sustain you and maintain you, not the NIL.
See, back then, Coach Prime was at JSU, so they couldn't take advantage of the alumni base and the boosters, as he noted. But his message has stayed clear. The focus should be on the NFL and not the NIL, and that's truly how he feels. Even to this day, now that he's at Colorado and he does have the boosters and things like that they can take advantage of. And the reasons were pretty clear from the beginning. He wanted to see players actually exchanging their name, image, and likeness for compensation, not some type of pay-per-view kind of thing where based on your performance, you might get something, or based on the size of the school, you might get something. And so I think Deion Sanders has still stayed true to this, because at the end of the day, he recognizes the inherent dangers of contracting, for these students. And he's also noticed the inherent dangers of not having the coaches involved, and not having the resources in place. Speaking on the resources, Deion Sanders said this about the way college football coaching staffs are structured right now. He was basically saying, when you start paying athletes like they're professionals, you get athletes acting like they're professionals. You don't have staffs large enough and equipped enough to handle a young man with money. Let me go deeper. Handle a young man that's making more than some of the coaches on staff. You got a real problem. So I suggest you to allow college teams to hire more qualified men, that can handle these young men that's getting this money. Obviously, Coach Prime sees himself as qualified, and he's also stacked his team at Jackson State with coaches that were qualified, and obviously at Colorado with coaches that are qualified to help these young men through these things, because these young men don't have to come to them, but hopefully they confide in their coaches to do so. That's one of Coach Prime's main messages, because failing to do so can find you in some legal trouble. Now let's go ahead and take a look at Coach Prime's most recent press conference at Colorado and see what his views are on NILs now.
Well, what are you presenting to the kids? What are you selling to? What's the pitch when you talk?
I don't sell nothing. That's the thing. It is what it is. One of the first things I say, if you're here for NIL or to be rich, we're not the school for you. But if you're here to become a man, get a degree, a tremendous education, and grow, win, and go pro, possibly if you do all the correct things, we are. So we're not here for the NIL, we're here for the NFL, and we're here to make you a man. But we don't have anything for sale. I'm not selling, hey, you're going to beat it. I'm not, we don't do that. We're so honest and so genuine and so real with these kids and their parents, and I think they embrace that. They embody that. They understand that there's authenticity there.
As you can see, after taking over a Power 5 program that does have the ability to pay its athletes, Coach Prime has not changed up. He's still singing the same tune. We want the NFL, not the NIL. And let's look at why that is. Coach Prime is one of the best athletes ever, and because of that, he's been dealing with name, image, and likeness for over 3 decades, not just 3 years like some of these other coaches. Don't get me wrong, some of these coaches have their shoe deals with Nike, Adidas, or Under Armour, or things of that sort. But Coach Prime has had deals with car companies and Aflac and different drinks and things of that nature for a long time. So his deals are more close to what these kids are going to be dealing with in the future. Because of that, Coach Prime knows what he's talking about firsthand. He has a perspective of not only the person that's in the deal, but the parent of the person that's in the deal, and now the coach of the person that's in the deal. And that's hitting on all 3 levels. You can't beat it. Coach Prime obviously said, we don't want these players to, just try to get all the money that they can get, because like he noted in another interview, you can be very rich and unhappy. I've been that before. And for the kids that are watching, I think this just means that, Coach Prime doesn't want the NIL deals to tell you what school to go to, because if it dictates your school choice, you could be there and be very unhappy for years. He pretty much emphasizes that he wants these players to recognize the complexity of the whole package. That is, what school you choose, what money you're getting, what companies you're being paired with, who's helping you do this, right? And also balancing school, because these are still student athletes first. Now let's go ahead and look at what Coach Prime is expecting from his boosters.
Yeah, one at a time. The NIL deals, I don't know what all deals they're receiving. I have no idea. I know we have a department for that that's doing a phenomenal job, and they're out doing some wonderful things. Our alumni, our donors, our boosters, or whatever you may call them, are all taking notice, and they want to compete. They don't not only want to compete, they want to win. So they understand we're not just trying to make a kid rich. We're just trying to make sure he don't have his needs are met. We want to ensure that their needs are met on campus while they're a student, a collegiate athlete here.
As you can see, Coach Prime is acknowledging that he has the alumni, the donors, and the boosters that can possibly form collectives if they want to. Now, even though Coach Prime doesn't like the idea of getting paid for nothing, he does realize that this is the ball game that he's playing and that he has to compete. Let's think about walk-ons for a second, right? Each FBS football team has 85 scholarship athletes, but they all also have well over 100 athletes in total. So basically, what's going on now at some of these big schools is that these boosters are getting together and they're possibly paying for these walk-ons. They're helping these walk-ons with their tuition and things like that. And what does that do? That basically kind of gives you pseudo scholarships that you can roll with. And the more pseudo scholarships that you have, the more kids on your roster that are not having to pay for school, they're probably better. And if they're probably better, then the team as a whole can be deeper, right? And so if Coach Prime wants his team to be just as deep as the other teams that are paying their walk-ons, then his collectives, have to get behind him, and he understands that. Now, I'm sure in the future, Coach Prime is going to address the Colorado collective with the same wisdom. If that collective is not doing the best job that it can by these students, then he's going to advise them against taking those deals. He does not want these students to get hurt. He knows what it's like to be rich and unhappy, and he also knows what it's like to be sued, I'm pretty sure, right? And he doesn't want that in these children's futures. But at the end of the day, man, shout out to Coach Prime, shout out to Colorado. I love what's going on up there. And also, if I had a child right now, I would want them under Coach Prime's tutelage because he's doing an amazing job and he's leading these guys. He's making them champions at every single level, in the classroom, on the field, and in life. And so I like the way he's raising men. But that's all I got for y'all today. If you like this video, please feel free to share it. Please like, share, and subscribe. Also, my Cash App is right up there in the top right-hand corner. Please support me if you can. I really appreciate it. Like I said, have a blessed day.
I'm chillin', they call me K-Heffner. If she in ecstatic, I won't even bless her. Mans went to rehab, I sent him a letter. Tapped in with gang, say he feeling better. It ain't the winter, I got on this sweater. And I'm finna be with the weather wherever. I'm kinda cozy, I'm signing forever. I guess I'm a hoarder collecting the trash.